Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tips. My name is Julian, and this is the waiver wire video for week 13 of the fantasy hockey season. Now, I hope you guys all had a wonderful Christmas and a happy holiday. But now that the holidays are winding down, guys, it's time to jump back into fantasy hockey and prepare for week 13 of the fantasy season. Before we jump into it though, guys, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And if you want notifications for all the new content that I post, every time I post it, hit that notification bell and you'll get it. If you do want to take your support to the next level, you can follow me on Patreon. And if you do want to check out my merch store where you can get beautiful fantasy tip merch just like this, you can check that out at fantasytipped.com. Let's jump right into it now. We'll start with the schedule for week 13. And on Monday, there are only 3 games. Tuesday there are 11, Wednesday 3, Thursday 10, Friday 6, Saturday 9, and Sunday 8. So the off nights are a little bit less normal than usual. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Sunday is not an off night since half the teams are playing. But both Saturday and Sunday are not all that busy, so there's a chance that you have room for players in your lineup both those days. So definitely go ahead and check that out. So off nights are not as important as usual this week, because even on the busiest nights, which are Tuesday and Thursday, still not the busiest in the world, so there's still a chance that you may actually be able to fit a player on your team for those nights. If you are curious about the off nights though, the team with the most off night games is the Anaheim Ducks, who play on all 3 off nights, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They have the best schedule for that. And then there are the Detroit Red Wings and the Tampa Bay Lightning, who both play Wednesday and Friday, so they have 2 off night games as well. The teams with the worst schedule this week are Buffalo, Ottawa, and San Jose, because they each only play 2 games. Let's jump into some forward options now. And first on the list, shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, it's Travis Konechny of the Philadelphia Flyers. This guy is a top 75 player in most leagues, guys. He's only 63% rostered, and that doesn't make any sense to me. This dude has been on fire all year long, has been very consistent, has been Philly's best player, and he should be picked up in a lot more leagues. Then I have Michael Bunting of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he's playing on the top line with Matthews and Nylander, as well as the top power play. And this dude has been on fire for the past few weeks now, and I think he's going to continue this pace for the rest of the season. That's about what he did last year as well. Started off slow and then lit it up to finish the year. Like him a lot as an ad. Should be added in more leagues at this point. Then I have David Perron of the Detroit Red Wings, and like I mentioned, guys, they do have the off nights on Wednesday and Friday, so he's definitely a really good streaming option, playing on the top line and top power play with Dylan Larkin for Detroit. Then I have Anders Lee of the New York Islanders, and he has been heating back up lately, so he's someone that you definitely can consider adding, because when he's hot, he's going to be doing very well for you in your lineup. Then I have Brandon Hagel of the Tampa Bay Lightning, up to 50% rostered now, and for those off nights on Wednesday and on Friday, he is an excellent option, guys, because he's playing on that top line still. And he is someone that I like to hold for the rest of the year, guys, because playing with Kucherov in point is just a really good recipe for success. He may go cold for a few games, guys, but I would not drop him. He's someone that definitely could be held onto for the rest of the year. Then I have Lucas Raymond of the Detroit Red Wings, and Lucas Raymond is now playing on the second line, but also on the top power play in Detroit. And for those couple of off nights that Detroit has this week, he's a pretty good streamer. He has been pretty decent all year, nothing too special, but for a streamer, he's a good one. Next, I have my Manscaped must-add players video, Jacob Vrana. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code word FANTASYTIP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with the code word FANTASYTIP. Manscaped, for a perfect gift that will be the holidays' biggest tip. Now, why is Jacob Vrana my Manscaped must-add player of the video? Because, guys, when this guy is healthy, in Detroit so far, he has been incredible. Last year in the 26 games that he did play, he scored 13 goals and a total of 19 points. And the year before, he scored 11 points, including 8 goals in 11 games for Detroit. He's a very, very good player when he is healthy. Unfortunately, he hasn't had a lot of luck staying healthy the past couple years. He's finally been assigned to the AHL on a conditioning stint, so you should go ahead and add him to your IR right now, because when he does play, he's going to be an absolute treat for you in your lineup. Then I have William Karlsson of the Vegas Golden Knights playing on that second line with Riley Smith and with Jonathan Marchessault when he is healthy. Now, that line has been heating back up as of late, and Riley Smith has been the guy who has been added a lot. But William Karlsson has also been putting up a decent amount of points on his own, and he's also a decent pickup right now. Then I have Victor Arvidsson of the Los Angeles Kings, and he was placed on the second line with Yafalo and with Philip Dano and went off for a goal and 2 assists. And he has been shooting the puck a lot more, which is something that we've been waiting for him to do, and he's finally doing that. So the floor is going to be there. He's going to put up a lot more points if he continues with a deployment like that. Arvidsson is a guy who I like adding right now. Then I have Nick Schmaltz of the Arizona Coyotes, and he's one of the hottest players in the whole NHL right now. He's on a 6-game point streak and has scored 9 points through those 6 games. While he's not shooting the puck a lot, his peripherals are not that great, as long as he keeps putting up those points, he's definitely a really great add for your fantasy team right now. Then I have Mason McTavish of the Anaheim Ducks, back up to playing on the second line now, playing with Frank Vetrano as well as on the top power play in Anaheim. And this guy has finally been producing. Now, it's nice to see because he was one of my favorites for the Calder Trophy this year, and he's finally heating up. And for a week where Anaheim has 3 off nights, he's a pretty solid add. Then I have Jordan Staal of the Carolina Hurricanes, and it's pretty hard to ignore him as of late. He's on a 5-game point streak and has put up 8 points in those 5 games. He's doing very well, and he's someone that definitely should be considered for an ad right now, although I'm not sure how long this streak is going to last. Then I have Brandon Tanev of the Seattle Kraken putting a pretty safe floor with hits and with shots. I don't love that he's a 4th liner, but he is still putting up points as of late, so he's someone that I don't mind streaming as of right now. Then I have Kent Johnson of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he hasn't really proven too much as of yet, but with Boone Jenner injured, Kent Johnson is the guy who's playing on that top line center role with Gaudreau and with Laine. Laine is on the COVID list. I don't think he's going to be there too long, so I'm not too worried about that. Kent Johnson is someone who you can speculatively add right now because he definitely could pop off in that role. Then I have Frank Vetrano, who is playing with Mason McTavish on that second line in Anaheim. He's someone who does shoot the puck a lot, so he gives you a pretty safe floor. He's been one of the more consistent Anaheim Ducks players this season, and on a week where they do play on those 3 off nights, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, he's a pretty decent option for a streamer. Then I have Mike Amadio, who's playing on the left wing right now between Chandler Stevenson and Mark Stone. It's a very good deployment, and he's been very hot lately. And so he could even gain that left wing eligibility if he sticks around there long enough. The only thing is that Jack Eichel might actually be back soon, and if he does, Amadio is definitely getting knocked back down to the 3rd or 4th line. So we're going to have to wait and see, but as of right now, his deployment is fantastic and definitely could be added in more leagues. And I have Michael Rasmussen, who's also someone who I like a lot this week. Could have been a must-add player this week for me, but I'm going to have to wait and see just a few more games to see if he can keep up this momentum. But last game that he played, he scored 2 goals and 2 assists. He's now getting top line time with Dylan Larkin and with David Perron, as well as top power play time with those 2 guys. They're really trying to get this guy going right now, and if he can get going, he's definitely someone that should be added in more leagues. If you're in a deep league, speculatively add him right now because he definitely could pop off. Then I have Ross Colton of the Tampa Bay Lightning, 4% rostered. It's a deep league ad here, and he is currently playing on the second line with Steven Stamkos and Nick Paul. He's been someone who has given you a safe floor all year round with shots and with hits. If you do have those categories in your league, he's someone that's definitely a decent ad right now because of that deployment that he's getting currently. Could also put up some points. And Alex Yafalo of the Los Angeles Kings is currently playing on the second line with Dano and with Arvidsson. And he's been putting up a decent amount of points lately. A sneaky ad right now in deeper leagues is someone who I like a lot. When Trevor Moore returns to the lineup, it's going to be a little bit more... I'm not sure where he's going to end up because Arvidsson did very well in that spot, and Yafalo's been doing very well in that spot, so we're going to have to see what happens. Moore may end up being the guy who's demoted to the 3rd line. And finally, I have Calle Jarnkrok of Toronto Maple Leafs, who has 5 points in his last 3 games, only 1% rostered. So for you guys in super deep leagues, he is an awesome option right now, playing with Tavares and with Mitch Marner on that second line in Toronto. And as long as this guy stays hot, he's an excellent ad for you. Jumping into defensemen now, and first on the list is Shane Gostisbehere, and I don't know why this guy is not more than 62% rostered still. He's been incredible all season long, putting up points. His peripherals aren't that great, but the points are coming very frequently. Love Gostisbehere this year. Then Orlov is someone who gives you a pretty safe floor with his peripherals, putting up points every once in a while as well. He's a good ad. And then Eric Gustafsson is a must add player right now. If I had a second Manscaped must add, it would be this guy right here. John Carlson is out long term. We don't know exactly how long that's going to be, but until then, Gustafsson is going to be manning the top power play, and he's been incredible over the last couple of weeks. He's been one of the top fantasy players overall. He's a must-add player right now, and if he's still floating out there on the waiver wire for you, make sure to scoop Erik Gustafsson up because he is doing very well on that top Washington power play right now. Then I have Alexander Romanov, who's on a 3-game point streak, scoring 4 points through those 3 games. He's also someone who's put up some pretty safe peripherals every single night, which is good. I don't think that point streak is going to continue, but as long as it does, guys, he's an okay add for your fantasy team if you're in a pretty deep league. Then Adam Bogusz is the last guy who I'm recommending. He's finally back from that LTIR, and he's manning the top power play in Columbus, and I know Columbus isn't that great of a team, and they haven't played a lot of games lately because of, a canceled game on Tuesday and whatnot, but Bogusz is going to heat up, guys, and he's a guy who I'd recommend adding right now, especially if you're in a deeper league and he's still available. Jumping into goalies now, and first I have Stuart Skinner of the Edmonton Oilers, and he's definitely taken over at this point. As the starter in Edmonton, he's starting the vast majority of the games there, and he's playing better than Campbell overall. He's a good add if he's still available in your league somehow. Then Karel Vejmelka of the Arizona Coyotes is a good add if you don't care too much about GAA, like if you're in a points-based league or something. He's a solid add for your team. He saves a lot of shots. Then Jake Allen of Montreal Canadiens is someone who's a little bit inconsistent, but when he's on, he's going to have some pretty solid nights for you guys. And if you're in a points-based league, overall, Jake Allen is a pretty solid goalie to have on your team. Then Philip Gustafsson of the Minnesota Wild, despite the pretty poor outing he had right before the Christmas break, he started again on Tuesday. So he's still going to be getting about half the starts in Minnesota, it seems like, going forward, until Fleury really does show that he can start more games. Then Felix Copley of the Los Angeles Kings has taken over the starter crease in Los Angeles. I thought that really strong game before the break by Quick may have, given Quick some graces in Los Angeles, made him get a few more games, but it really doesn't seem that way. They really like Felix Copley, and they are rolling with him. Felix Copley was my Manscaped must-add player last week, and is still a must-add if you haven't added him yet. Then I have Spencer Martin of the Vancouver Canucks, and yeah, he hasn't been that good this year, and I understand that. Vancouver as a whole hasn't been very good. But after the Christmas break, his first game against San Jose, he did pretty well, only let in 2 goals, which is the least he's let in a long time, and actually won the game. He's won a couple of games straight at this point, and maybe Vancouver was able to get the rest they needed over that break and maybe turn their season around a little bit, and maybe Martin can have a little bit of a better 2023. We're going to have to see, but Martin could be a decent add because Demko is still not that close to returning. So for the next few weeks, he's still the starter, seeing pretty much every start in Vancouver. And then Philip Grubauer of the Seattle Kraken is getting about half the starts in Seattle. It's hard to predict who's going to get the starts in Seattle. Is it going to be Martin Jones? Is it going to be Grubauer? Grubauer's a lot less owned than Martin Jones, and he's doing pretty much as well as him. So he's the guy right now who I would go for, especially in deeper leagues. He's the guy who is available. I don't love either of them, but they're both getting starts right now in Seattle. Then Stalock of the Chicago Blackhawks is the better goalie in Chicago. Should see the majority of the starts here in Chicago. Only 7% rostered. And in his first start since coming back from the concussion, he did pretty well. Definitely could be added in more leagues at this point. Then Jonas Korpisalo with Merzlikins on the COVID list. And with Tarasov not having done so well in his last couple of starts, Korpisalo might be the starter in Columbus. Not my favorite option at all, but if you're in a super deep league and you need someone who's going to be starting, he is someone who should be starting. And then finally I have Lucas Dostal of the Anaheim Ducks, and Gibson is still day-to-day. And Stolarz is still on IR. So as long as those guys are still injured, Dostal is going to be getting the starts in Anaheim. And he's actually been doing pretty freaking well. If you're in a points-based league, he's getting you a lot of points. Definitely not a bad add if you're in a deep league. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Please leave a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful, happy New Year, great New Year celebration. And I hope that you had a nice, long, rested holiday. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.